Sovereign immunity generally shields governments from financial liability, particularly for events that occurred long before most sitting lawmakers took office. To break that shield, plaintiffs cannot simply prove that a horrific crime took place. They must provide absolute, undeniable proof of state complicity, and they have to do it using the state's own rigorous evidentiary standards. Which brings us to Rosewood, Florida in 1923. This was a thriving Black community, a town of property owners, businesses, and deep roots. Over the course of a few days in early January, a white mob systematically burned it to the ground, murdering residents and driving the survivors into the surrounding swamps. For the next 70 years, the state of Florida maintained a deliberate institutional silence. The massacre was completely omitted from official state records, history textbooks, and law enforcement archives. Legally speaking, Rosewood ceased to exist. By the 1990s, the surviving victims were rapidly aging. Knowing time was running out, their descendants prepared to file Florida House Bill 591, a claims bill demanding compensation. But because the state had erased the documentation, the legal team had to reconstruct the town's entire history from scratch. This legal battle required plaintiffs to force a government to legally resurrect a crime scene that the same government had intentionally buried. The first pillar of evidence came directly from the survivors. For 7 decades, the true story of the massacre survived exclusively through a whisper network, preserved primarily by the women who had escaped the violence as children. Descendant organizations like the Real Rosewood Foundation kept these memories alive. However, oral history alone rarely meets a court's strict evidentiary standard for a multi-million-dollar financial claim. To corroborate the testimonies, researchers needed physical evidence. Modern archaeological teams conducted field surveys to physically map the erased town by locating the original property lines. The excavations revealed foundations, structural remains, and domestic artifacts that firmly established the existence of a prosperous, self-sustaining economy before the fires. By combining the vivid, emotional testimonies of the living survivors with the hard geographic data pulled from the soil, the legal team established an irrefutable what and where for their brief. Establishing the crime is only the first step. The plaintiffs still had to prove the who, specifically that the state of Florida held direct responsibility for the destruction. This is where the special master's final report comes in. Pro bono legal teams and historians painstakingly reconstructed the exact timeline of January 1923. The report detailed exactly how local sheriffs and state officials received explicit warnings about the gathering mob, yet deliberately stood by. Law enforcement officers were documented actively failing to intervene, while citizens were hunted and homes were torched. By mapping this precise sequence of systemic police inaction, the plaintiffs met the rigorous legal burden of negligence. They proved the government failed its duty to protect its citizens, shifting the financial liability squarely onto the state. The strength of that evidence culminated in Tallahassee. In 1994, the legislature passed the Rosewood Claims Bill, awarding $2 million to the survivors and their descendants. This marked the first time in United States history that a state government officially recognized and provided financial compensation for the victims of domestic racial violence. This line graph tracks the official historical record regarding Rosewood. From 1923 to 1993, the line remains entirely flat, but following the 1994 bill, it violently spikes upward, breaking into hundreds of data points representing new legal and academic entries. The legal fight for financial restitution acted as the exact mechanism that forced the town back into the public consciousness. The historical record is almost always dictated by those who control the archives, but the Rosewood precedent demonstrates that with intergenerational persistence and a relentless legal strategy, deliberately buried truths can be excavated, validated, and codified into law.